Talking about being a first-time dad, and obviously we know being a father is the most amazing thing. Just to say that, disclaimer, we're happy to be fathers, of course. It's the most amazing thing in the world. But it comes with its challenges, and it comes with its difficulties as well. So what would you say is like the main challenge for you in terms of not just being a first-time father, but actually now as well? What do you find is the challenge in fatherhood?
I would say definitely that kind of thing. Someone spoke about patience before, and like, especially when I want my kids to listen to what I'm telling them to do. Yeah. So that area of like, now that they're 6 and 7, and those personalities are coming through. Like, I remember I had a moment with my daughter the other day, and I was just getting really irritated because everything I said, she had something to say back, and I'm just like, just be quiet and just listen to what I'm saying. I am your father. And it's that kind of like fine line between like, okay, I don't want to silence my children because I came from a culture where like, children, you're seen and not heard, you're spoken to. And I'm like, actually, that's not what I want. That's not the environment we want to foster. I want you to have a voice. I want you to use your voice. That's great. And I embrace that. But at the same time, I'm trying to balance that with, but I still want you to listen to what I'm saying. And I think that area of just being patient and not going to the default, okay, just look, I'm the dad, just be quiet, shut up, this is what I'm saying, and controlling that impulse so that they can still have their voice, but still understand that actually, well, I'm like how many years older and I still know a lot more than you right now, so you still need to kind of hear what I'm saying. And that is definitely that challenge of like, just patience and remaining, like not allowing myself to get really sort of frustrated with them not listening. I don't know if that makes sense.
So how do you guys deal with discipline in terms of
techniques? So what Kali's saying, I'm telling you, like, there's a lot of like, I'm telling you.
Can we record this? Can we go off record now, please?
No, I'm just saying, there was a lot of like, this kid better put some respect on my name, there was a lot of that, But having said that, you know what? The one thing is that what I had to tell myself was, he's gone maybe like 12, 14 months, where like he's the king of Rome, I'm hungry, feed him, you feed him. I want to sleep, change my... He doesn't know what no is. He's never heard no. It's not in his vocabulary. Like, the only way he knows no is when he say no to you. Like, he doesn't know, And it's about trying to, like, feed into this whole idea of... like the first time you teach him please, Now they've said please, they should get whatever they want. And then it's like, I'm teaching you please, but it doesn't mean you get whatever you want. But how do you balance that? How do you balance teaching manners, teaching them respect, giving them that this is what this means, and then slowly introducing the fact they can't have something by explaining it to them, like, why? But then they got to the point where I was like, mate, because I said so, Like, I said so should be a good enough reason. That's it. As soon as I say no, your head should be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You said, cause I know with my dad, if he said no, like before he went no, I was gone. Like, I mean, like you didn't even have to do the whole syllable. So I guess it's like understanding that we're different types of parents, and you can't basically just take all the good bits. You can't be fun dad, playing about dad, or let's muck about. Our mum's not here, you can have a bit of chocolate, watch TV, and on the other hand, be like, get over here. And then when you say no, be shocked about it. So. But there are, like, even this morning before we came here, he weren't listening, and I was just thinking, oh man, like, all this time I say, like, I'm really patient. I'm not feeling like that right now. I'm like counting in my head, like, don't, just calm down. He's just a kid. He's just messing about. But I guess that's you talk about the tagging in.
It's timing though, isn't it? Because they pick the moment. They'll invariably be beautiful one morning, and then suddenly you're ready to go out, and it's like, and then they'll start being weird and doing the opposite thing. And it's also about the speed at which, I talk fast anyway, but it's about when you say something to them, there's a certain point where if you keep saying the same thing, it's not going in. It's like saying a thing, wait a little bit. Did you actually compute what I just said? We're going to do this first, and then this, and then that's going to happen. And then we pause, and then and you suddenly say, it works in their heads. But it's all about the timing, and you have to, the please thing is totally true and happens all the time. But I don't know. The challenges are all of that. It's that working out. I found initially it was weirder having the small baby, the baby that doesn't communicate, the baby that doesn't kind of like do anything but gurgle and spew, and then it was like, oh yeah, you change the nappy, you feed it, it's still crying, cuddling it. That was a bit weird, and I didn't kind of connect with that because I work with secondary kids, so I thought, oh, actually makes more sense. And it's weird, as my daughter's grown up, the toddler in lots of ways is much more, for me, easy to connect with because you can have that kind of semi-weird conversation, even half the words she's saying are made up, but it's still, but you can still have the conversation and we'll try to translate in a weird, like, Google Translate, like, so, yes, I've had, there's something in there about chicken, and maybe, what is always, it's what, and you translate it, but there's something there which I could kind of engage with. Maybe I'm a little bit slow in the head, but I could engage with that. But then there are other times when it's just like, no, I'm going now. Just tag, you're in. Yeah. Just done whatever button pressing. I'd rather breathe for a minute. I'll come back in and look at a cute photo of her and go, she's amazing. But at that point, step back. Yeah. Do the step. And I think you need that. It comes back to that support thing about you need the space because it's nothing to do with them. It's nothing to do with you. It's just the situations. It's family, it's intense, you care too much, you care as you should do, and you need to step away sometimes. And
I blame them.
I totally agree with that, because even when I was really irritated with my little girl, like there was that moment of like, gosh, what I'm saying and my approach isn't working, and I was getting incredibly frustrated and even more. So at one point I was just like, okay, go upstairs. I said, just go to bed. And it was pretty much bedtime anyway, and she got really upset, and then the emotion came with the tears, and I was like, oh my gosh. So then I gave her a cuddle. And then I said, okay, when Mum came back, Mum actually dealt with it and and it was fine. And you were just so right. It was like, actually, in that moment, I just had to say, okay, you know what? It's just time to time to tag and just like step back and let Mum deal with it and not feel like, oh my gosh, I've not, you know?
And it's all these things that, I guess when you're preparing for fatherhood, you don't really think that far ahead. So you're thinking about even the sleepless nights and, the finances, those kind of practical things. But for me, this discipline is very difficult. But I think probably more difficult for me is like realizing I can't do everything for her. So sometimes she'll be in certain situations and I'm like, do this, like, oh, if there's a kid that's not being very nice to her, do this is how you should handle this situation. And it's realizing I can't do that. All I can do is guide, role model, all those things, and then she has to then go into the big wide world and have great experiences, have bad experiences. I can try and curate the environment as best as I can, but I know that her life is going to have some struggles in it, like we all do. It's just normal, it's humans. But we don't want that. I don't want her to do that. But it's like realizing I can't sugarcoat you and not and shield you from everything. And I think looking back at but when you become a father and a parent, you definitely appreciate what your parents went through. And so now I'm like, do you know what? My mum and dad did a great job, man, because there were certain times when I'm sure they were looking at me thinking, nah, you're making a mistake doing that, or that's not a good idea. But I think they got the right balance of doing what they could do, but also allowing me to explore, especially like in my late teens and have my life and probably do things I didn't agree with, but knowing that they've kind of given me the morals that they can. I'm going to have to go out and hopefully I find my way. And for me, it's like looking at Eleni, I'm like, I need to make sure I can control what I can control in the home and stuff like that, and just best prepare you for the world.
That's it, isn't it? And it's training up the child, isn't it? In the way they go, and whatever experiences they face, whatever you stuff them with, we have to just hope and pray and trust that they will find their way. They have to navigate, and I think that's what we're doing. We're essentially helping them to navigate the world before them. And you're right, so many variables we can't control. Yeah.
That's what you were saying, but it's weird because you go from that bit where it's so centric on the helpless little bundle of flesh and bones and sits there, and then slowly but surely they start not needing you in a smaller or greater ways and starting to go, well, actually I can do this on my own. And that thing about it is always when you want to get out of the house, when she suddenly decides that she wants to know how to put on her shoes when she's never done it before, but I'll do it. It's like, okay, you do it, but you do it. Can Daddy help a little? Does Daddy will help you? No, I'll do it. Yeah, but you're taking 3 hours and you're never going to get on because you've got the shoe bar on your head and your legs up there and you're stuck at work and now your trousers fall down. But that's okay, because Daddy is very patient, and you got that thing, isn't it? It's crazy. But we build up with older kids as well. It becomes even more complex because the social world outside. With the little ones, at least you can, if you need to, put them to bed. When they get a little bit, it's like, okay, no, I'm not going to have it.
I think what it also is, you've got to look at like your counterbalance with your partner, not also your partner, but just other people who look after your kid. So I know what I'm like. I might, especially the first sort of like 10, 12 months, I was more overprotective. Like, watch him. I'll follow him around, like make sure he don't hurt himself and all this stuff. Whereas my wife was just like, just let him go in it. He'll figure it out. I was like, what are you doing? He'll figure it out. He's just a child. He's our child. You're letting him go in the garden. It's first time in the garden on his own.
There's grass out
like,
there.
what if he falls? Like, what if there's a bee? I think the worst things here, like, honestly, I think the dumbest, like, when I think back, I realize that the most stupid things I'll be thinking, like, she'll be like, I'm going to sit and have a coffee, and he's going to run around the garden. And I'll be like, oh, but like, what if we were in the garden and like a bee came, right? And then the bee stung him, and he's allergic, and we don't know. And he can't tell us, and he's at the back of the garden, yeah. And then I'm thinking all these mad things. She's like, go then. I'm following him around. She's chilling, but I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's like you have your balances, and then you have to learn to let go. So like when he's with my mum, I say to mum, look. At first, my mum, I used to go there, be like the kind of proper like stush dad, like, oh, we don't do this, we do this. But now it's like, look, mum, just do your thing. He knows in your environment, you're the boss. Because it makes her more comfortable parenting. Same with like my mother-in-law, do your own thing. And now he knows like he behaves different ways in different places. He reacts differently with us. He knows with his mum, he can just run around, go wild. It's almost like he takes care of me now. He'll be like, I'm all right. Like, I'm cool. I'm just going to go there. So I think that's what it is. And it's really hard because from being a baby to being a toddler, say walking about and talking, we're talking about 8 months, right? It's not a long time, yeah? Like, from when they're like 3 months, totally vulnerable, dependable, to when they're like, say, like 14, 15 months and they're walking a bit and they're talking. And you're like, rah, like, that's not a baby no more, yeah? Like, people at work be like, oh, how's your kid? Like 6 months? You're like, no, 2.5. Like, it's just like, and the transformation's massive. And I think it takes us ages as parents to catch up.
Yeah. Okay, they go through it quick. They're developing like rapid. We go work it out. Oh right, yeah, but you're supposed to. No. Okay, fine. Where did that word come from? Even I mean that's one of the big challenges, not swearing. It's going okay. The funniest one was actually not swearing, but it was like for some reason my wife's upstairs. She shouted down Sam, and rarely you hear that because usually in the same room it's just start talking. So suddenly Eliza's running around going Sam. I'm like, and my reaction was. Like, it's at school. No one calls me by my first name. It's sir or dad. And these are the two rules that I've got now. But you just got to... What are you doing? Luckily, she dropped it after a while. But for a while, she goes, Sam. Like, I go, seriously? What have we just done with this? We've told all barriers broken, all sorts of sense of my importance as dad. It's got like, in the toilet, they just first named me. And they say, so yeah.
It's crazy, because we have so many... like boxes and boundaries and things as adults, but everything for a kid is just everything new is a discovery, right? And they're just like, whoa, hold on, wait, just slow down.
So let's reflect on that point, I guess, like growth, our children growing, us trying to keep up with them, the discipline. What kind of, just to end, what kind of top tip or what one thing would you say to a first-time dad, maybe got a year-old, 18-month-old? What are your reflections on that point of your life? Let's start with you, Callum.
I'm actually going to kind of go off of the back of what JJ was saying about sort of learning how to obviously give them what they need, but sort of letting go and allowing them to find their way and explore, whether it's running and looking like they're going to fall over and just kind of allowing sometimes that to happen on the grass or on a bouncy castle. But yeah, just letting go, allowing yourself to let go at times and just allow them to develop before you and show you and almost kind of demonstrate everything that you've put in them. Do you know what I mean? Give them a chance to actually put it to work rather than constantly trying to kind of keep a hold of that.
Yeah, I'd say that as well. Like, I always use computer games, right, as an example. It shows what I did in my teenage years, yeah. But essentially, like, it's like, in GTA when you discover the map and your map gets bigger, yeah. I was like, that's their life, right? They just discovered a new part of the game, a new part of the map, and it's a new challenge for them to overcome. And what you don't want to do is get in there and ruin it for them. And I feel like I realized that's what I felt like I was doing. I was like, he's going to go up on a slide and he wants to come down. Let him do it, And the other thing I touch on is like, don't get too stressed about milestones, especially at this age. Like, how many of you have met an adult who can't go to the toilet and doesn't walk and talk because their parents didn't teach him. Like, it will come in time. And the more you stress about, oh, they're not doing it, you're missing out on like just enjoying them, right? So they wear nappy for like an extra like 3 or 4 months, or, you know, they don't walk as quickly. Trust me, when they start walking, you'll be like, I wish they were still crawling, like, you know. So, you know, it's the same with like, I drive to my sister, I was like, I wish you still wore a nappy. I have to stop at every service station, every service station. So just enjoy it, embrace it, and let them do their thing, and then you try and catch up.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it comes to the comparison thing, isn't it? The comparison thing is always the downfall. I guess everything these guys have said about how just letting it wander a little bit in places. I mean, there's things you got to do, and I think the boundaries are clear about the feeding and looking after. Most of the problems, especially when that's tiny, is toilet food, whatever, cleanness, warmth, stuff like that, or just a little bit of a cuddle. Whereas as they get older, I think it's actually, it becomes more complex, but then you have to kind of like, well, what have I got in the house? What am I are there books around? Are there music around? It's not about having masses of toys, because you know what toys are like. They play with a box, or one toy for 5 minutes. It's about going, well, what are we doing with it? Are we playing together or not? And that's not always possible. Are we talking together? Are we? I mean, my wife is amazing because she just talks all the time. So Eliza talks like that, and it's great because you're thinking about a milestone of language development. You think about that. Music-wise, it's all there. She's rocking along to AC/DC as well as she is to like Marvin Gaye. Anything that happens is like put music on, and even if it's in the background, it's stuff that for me makes me feel quite good, but also kind of gives her things to be, you know, she's finding a new part of the map. It is a part of the map I'm guiding her towards, as well as part of the map that I'm a little bit frightened of. It's picking and choosing what you kind of like show them as the world, and hopefully it's all good and positive, and it comes out.
Mine are going to be the same every time. It's going to be okay, guys. That's my number one thing. It's going to be okay. And I think what I'm learning now is that to not only lead, but be led as well. So pick up from cues from my daughter. You know, now she's getting really interested in learning words and stuff like that. I'm like, this is great. So now I'm going to do more of that with you, and just not trying to control, giving her space and letting her dictate to an extent how we go. But this has been really good. It's a great conversation.